Now I want to bring in CBS News legal contributor Jessica Levinson. Jessica, I want to get your take on this. What are the next steps here legally?
So the next steps are that the IRS will finish the audits that were started late, the audits that haven't been completed. And frankly, I think one of the stories to come out of the release of these taxes is that the IRS is really outgunned when it comes to the resources that the former president has brought to bear on this issue, that the IRS simply, I think, doesn't have the people power. And that's why this has taken so long, that the former president has accountants, tax professionals, and lawyers who have all basically fought the release of this information and fought the IRS's ability to complete its audit. Once the IRS has finished its audit, then the next question will be, will there be any federal charges in connection with what the IRS finds here?
The former president made several claims to reduce his income tax liability. You heard Robert and I discussing this. Tell us about what you're seeing and about evidence to back them up.
So the lack of evidence to back them up, I think, is a really important point here. And the reporting indicates that the IRS has asked in a number of cases, for instance, when it comes to large charitable donations, can we see the proof of this? And I think for a lot of people, it's almost the end of the year. They save all their receipts. And that's basically what the IRS is asking for here. Give us the receipts. Now, when it comes to ways that the former president tried to reduce his tax liability, we see massive write-offs when it comes to his businesses, where he said that his businesses lost a lot of income or had a lot of expenses. We also see, as I just mentioned, the charitable donations. There's also situations where he said that he gave loans to his adult children, but they may look more like gifts, frankly, and that's a way to try and avoid higher taxes. One of the things I think we're going to hear a lot more about when it comes to those business expenses, which again lowered or completely zeroed out the former president's tax liability in some situations. One of the things we're going to hear is that the red flag is there are some cases where it looks like income exactly matched expenses. That's just extremely rare in the real world. So for instance, there is a company that operated the former president's personal helicopter. I believe in 2017, they reported income of $42,965. They reported exactly the same amount of expenses, therefore meaning that they owe nothing in taxes. That's just one example where, again, it raises a red flag for a lot of people today thinking about whether or not they're going to make their charitable donations, for instance. They're realizing that very, very rarely do income ever match expenses, and that there's really no way to make that happen.
Jessica, you know what you're saying, I think, raises two questions in people's mind. Could the release of these taxes impact other investigations that are currently ongoing against the former president? And might the other members of the Trump family also face additional scrutiny?
So to take the last question first, in terms of the other members, again, there is that issue that we just talked about of the loans that were made to the former president's adult children, but in some ways they look more like gifts. The other thing that's strange about those loans is that the interest payments that were made back to Trump as a result of those so-called loans, they're round numbers. That's very rare to see. Now, with respect to the first question, the other investigations, we know that where this could have the most impact is potentially those New York investigations where the DA's office and the Attorney General's office are looking into potential financial crimes. And we've already seen the Trump Organization itself found guilty of tax fraud and the Trump Organization's CFO. Now, I don't know, frankly, if these new revelations will lead to charges in that case, because I believe the DA's office and the Attorney General's office have already had this information for many months now. The other question, would this impact Mar-a-Lago? I think the answer is no, or January 6th, or the investigation in Georgia dealing with potential election fraud. And I think the taxes are just separate and apart from any of those investigations.
All right, Jessica Levinson, thank you.
Thank you.